All right, going live on video. Stand by for audio. All right, good day and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Live the Fuel show. So today I'm bringing on, yes, yet another new co-host for you. This gentleman came through the power of, once again, networking. We might geek out a little bit about that because we have some common connections. Someone very, very close to us since he's been on the show a couple of times. But this gentleman is an author, a speaker, and a biohacker. Yes, I've dropped that keyword a few times on this show, specializing in the autonomic. You know what? He's going to correct me on that nervous system because I am geeking out about biohacking, but I'm not very good on the nervous system. He's traditionally trained in cybersecurity and has traveled the world practicing and teaching advanced ancient ways to reprogram the body and mind for peak performance. He's trained military special operators, athletes, executives, champion poker players in advanced techniques for peak performance. There's your key words, ladies and gentlemen, peak performance. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Robert Hartman.
It's awesome to be on with you, and I look forward to chatting with you about all of the different modes of the autonomic nervous system.
There's the keyword.
Autonomic, yes.
I could not say that, man.
It's quite a mouthful, and it's phenomenal what we're able to do once we gain understanding about this inner kind of motherboard and computer in our body, and how we can use it for business, pleasure, the next date, or the next battle that you're in.
I love that because right before we fired the recording, ladies and gents, this gentleman, actually, I'm going to go ahead and show it on the webcam for the video feed here. His book has already arrived, and I'll be doing some screen sharing throughout the show as well. But hacking your nervous system, and I get a lot of books, especially when I have co-hosts on. But you and I were just joking around, not really joking around, I should say just vibing on a common ground that you recently got to speak to a local veterans group. And it's interesting because I connect in different ways on the respect for veterans or just really first responders, because let's be real, it's not just military, right? I mean, let's look at police. I mean, I'm a former firefighter, right? Like these are all positions of life that can be quite stressful, and I'm guessing very strained on the nervous system for peak performance. Mm-hmm. So why do you, before we fired the show up, I could sense some of your excitement about that recent event you got to speak at. So why do you get so excited about that?
I am so grateful for everybody that's helped basically protect my ass.
I love it.
I haven't had to carry a gun or protect the country in the kinetic terms. My background has been in cybersecurity. And so in a way, I've been protecting the country on the digital front, but I haven't been risking my life and limb. And so any chance that I get to repay the what's been given to me by combat veterans and first responders, I'm just grateful to teach. Yeah.
Well, let's be real. I think we all could be grateful. I think a lot of us. And again, we have listeners all over the world, right? So it's not just here in the USA, but obviously the biggest part of my demographic is US based, North American based, like a lot of Canadian too, apparently. I was looking at my stats. And the interesting thing is, I don't know, man, like I know this is not really off topic, but this kind of connects to what you just said, but I think a lot of us get disconnected. We could talk about this from a nervous perspective, but also in life, like we don't realize and maybe take for granted a lot of the things that our country has given us and those first responders and the military have protected us with. So I love the fact that we're vibing on this right now just because it doesn't come up that often, and I think it needs to.
Totally. I think when we look at the capability that we have now to live a relatively safe and peaceful time at home. Now we all have like crazy stressors, yeah, but we're not worried about as much that bombs going off at a bus stop or something like that. And there's been a lot of hard work to help make that possible.
Well, and part of that hard work is interesting is this, it's the key word you use for your book, hacking your nervous system. It's interesting because I've had on I consider him a famous podcaster because he gets a crazy following. His name is Vinny Tortorich, and he's known as the Fitness Confidential. That's his book, best-selling book, and his name of his podcast show. And he's gotten so popular because he's like a trainer to the stars in LA. So he basically hacks, people's fitness. But he hates that word. And so obviously me being a marketing buff, I'm like, you know what? Smart choice, because hacking, these are key words that are getting thrown around a lot more. Biohacker, biohacking. Hell, I've even had on the famous Dr. Jack Cruz on the show, and he's talked about mitohacking, like hacking the mitochondria of the cellular level. So it's just crazy. I was like, in the end, I don't care what keyword you use. I think the most important thing that we take out of this is that what are we learning and what are we doing to actually improve our daily lives? And is that what kind of got you going on this?
I totally agree with what you're talking about, because part of me wants to make the next book like unhacking your life. Sometimes we spend so much time like optimize this, optimize that, and guess what? If we hyper optimize everything, then we're not enjoying it, and we're not allowing life to happen. Sometimes I think about how right at this moment we're traveling at 490,000 miles an hour around the center of the galaxy. And we don't have to hack anything to have just what we need in this moment. Like, we've got the right gravity, we've got the right amount of gravity, the right amount of oxygen, etc. And sometimes I think hacking is going a little too far. And the other thing is, guess what? Some of the best original hackers were simply yogis, martial artists, and Asian medicine practitioners. So a lot of the things that we're doing now, like the ice baths and the breathing techniques, and the butter in the coffee and stuff like that, this has been around for thousands of years, and I think it's kind of fun to respect that lineage and give credit to the ancient sciences.
Well, I love the fact you're bringing that up, because as a kid, I studied karate and martial arts. So I got to connect with the Shoin-ryu art, which goes back to the Okinawan days. And that's one of obviously the oldest sections of Japan. And Japan has a lot of history to that, and a lot of respect to Western ways and the culture. Sorry, Eastern ways, right? Yeah, the Eastern. So, and the interesting thing you bring up there is that where everybody's talking about hacking, or as you said, optimizing. I like that. It's a positive word. And obviously you being I guess we can call that online security guru. I don't know how, there's so many different ways for your profession, because I have one of my best friends probably does what you do. Like, he only has to work like a couple times a year because he just goes into New York City and just hacks the banks. Like, they pay him to do that. I don't know, like testing their security. Sounds something like what you do. And I did spend a few years in the IT space, so I understand, routers and firewalls and managed hosting environments. We had full redundant data centers. I'm geeking out on data right now, but yeah, so I can hang with most of the lingo. And I was like, in the end, I think it's funny you bring this up. We have all this technology, we have all these advancements, and I brought this up on the phone with my own mother yesterday. Like, my dad's a type 2 diabetic, but he wasn't always. Right? Lifestyle choices. I truly believe that the diabetes at the type 2 level is curable. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. And then all of a sudden, like, she's telling me how he went to a doctor, and the doctor said because he has type 2 diabetes that he has concerns over his blood pressure. Wait for it. So he's like, listen, just to cover our bases, I want to put him on a statin. And I'm like, Okay. Okay. I'm confused, Mom. So did he need the statin? And she's like, well, that's kind of what I was thinking. And I'm like, yeah,
Mm,
statin is not a cure. It's a
mm,
drug.
mm,
Okay. If you trace, and again, going back to biohacking, everything else we're talking about, guys, like, ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about this many, many times on the show, and I'm hoping to get some passion out of Rob on this too, because I'm take a deep breath on this. It's my own family, so I take this very personally. Drugs don't cure shit.
mm,
They're a medical laboratory created band-aid, because we're not
mm,
hacking, if you will, or finding the root cause, which is what,
mm,
if you study Asian medicine and the other forms, or I like to use the word traditional medicine, because
mm.
nowadays we're using traditional medicine here. Like, oh, well, I just go traditional medicine. I go to my MD. I'm like, actually, that's only been around for like 100 years. You might want to go back a few thousand,
Mm,
and let's look at that traditional medicine,
mm.
right?
Mhm.
I don't know. Where are you at on that?
No, I agree with a lot of that. I think medicine can be Western medicine can be really helpful for treating acute things and providing a band-aid
Sure.
to get to the deeper stuff. And how this kind of relates with the nervous system is that if we one of the best measures for the nervous system is the lie detector machine.
Oh, dude, I love that.
And so it's measuring all of these different inputs. And from moment to moment, if you're answering a question and you're not in your mind and your body and nervous system isn't synchronized, then it'll register and it'll be like, oh, something's out of whack.
Hmm.
Well, that's happening in just a short interview or interrogation. But guess what? If you're living outside of your truth over a span of years or decades, then your mind and body nervous system is not in congruence, and where things are disintegrated, then we're going to have more and more health problems, I believe. Now, I'm not a doctor, but yeah.
Well, let's. I mean, it's kind of funny you bring that up, right? Lie detectors, right? So I forget what show we were watching last night. I don't know. I guess I told you before we started the show. We just got back from vacation, so I was like, I've been unplugged, dude. Like I to hack my lifestyle. I was like, you know what? I'm all over social media all the time. I'm a marketing guy. I'm like, I am unplugging
That's great.
this freaking trip. I deleted, and to prove, my fiance didn't believe me. So to prove it, as soon as we landed in Denver, Colorado, and I did my Facebook live video over, like, saying I'm unplugging, because I wanted to shout out to a group that I know in Syracuse, New York, who's called Unplug CNY. And the
Mm,
whole point is they're trying to get people to once in a while just unplug, right? And he's a millennial. And he's like, dude, he's like, my own little sister at dinner called out the family saying, why aren't we talking more, right? Because everybody's
mm,
sitting on their phones eating dinner.
mm, mhm, mhm.
So, but the point was, is it, to perform at my peak, I was like, I need to unplug once in a while, right? Let's like, okay, well, if I'm all plugged in all the time, and I'm gone for the next 10 days, skiing with my fiance, and then I catch up with her family and just enjoying the mountains of Colorado, because I used to live in Colorado. I was like, dude, I need to be all in. And what if I just unplugged from everything? So I deleted all the social media apps off the phone, um, to prove to her that I could do it. And I said, all right, I'm all in. Let's rock out. And the sad part is it takes something that grandiose to do that. I don't
No,
I
and
I don't know.
I love the terminology that you just used there. It's all in. Like, rather
Yeah.
than being connected to all this stuff on the outside, I'm going to get connected way deep inside. And
Okay.
like, this is, back to our core, back to our own center of gravity. And from that place, then we can kind of like springboard into peak performance. Does that
Well,
resonate for you?
oh hell yeah. I mean, especially from this trip, dude. Like I've been going out there with her for a few years now, since we got together, and her parents have an Edwards in Colorado. I have a house there, so it's like, okay, great. Dude, you buy, like, we bought plane tickets for $300 a person. We have a house ready to rock. We
Mhm.
took one of those ski shuttle services from the airport out there because her parents, it's a retirement house. They keep an old SUV in the garage, so like
Mhm.
an extra vehicle, so I don't need a rental car. So there's some financial hacks. But it's like, all right, man, dude, there's no excuse not to go to Colorado every year. You got a house, you got a car. All you got to do is get there and escape. And uh, it totally resonates with me because other years I'm doing a selfie on the ski lift with her, and then I'm posting that while riding the ski lift. Well,
Mm. Mm.
in this case, you just talk to each other all the way up the ski lift
Yeah.
without being distracted by
Yeah.
your smartphones and everything else.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. I went through a little bit of withdrawal.
Yeah, totally. Good, good, good. Yeah. There's it's just some random trivia. The ancient words for this from Sanskrit is Radha and Anuradha.
Oh,
So I don't know if you've ever met someone named Radha, but that means when we come back to ourselves and we settle inside.
hmm.
And then Anuradha means when we go outwards and we're more disconnected from self and connected to the outer world. Just
Wow.
random trivia.
No, I'm loving that because I mean a lot of what we're talking about right here, and actually, heck, I haven't done any showing off your site here yet, ladies and gentlemen. So again, video feed, you get to take advantage of this. But ladies and gentlemen, if you actually want to follow this guy, I mean, Rob R-O-B Hartman, Hartman. That's his website. I mean, he's keeping it pretty simple for you. It's just robhartman.co. And is that a lot do you bring more of that content eventually as you build out your site and you build your brand? Is that stuff you want to start building into the site and get more of that unique type of knowledge you just dropped on us? Because I thought that was beautiful. It's so old. I mean, Sanskrit's one of the oldest languages on the planet. I mean,
Yeah, that's what I'm piecing together is all of these different information nuggets, and I'm starting to record the talks that I'm giving at veterans organizations and businesses and even university sports teams. Yeah.
well, I'm loving the university sports teams piece because I already have regular co-hosts on the show, and actually, obviously, I hinted at it in the intro that a mutual friend of ours, Travis Rosnos, is becoming more of a new regular. He's the one of the fellow ice men. You
Mm-hmm.
joked around about the ice baths and the cold water baths and everything else. But I bring on regular sports psychologist Megan Cannon, and she's from a group called Mind of the Athlete, and they're actually local here where I live in Pennsylvania, but they travel all over the country and they work with collegiate sports teams.
Mm.
And again, their brand, Mind of the Athlete, her being a sports psychologist, and the rest of their team is mostly sports psychologists. They do have one sports nutritionist who I bring on regularly too, Aaron, because we're foodies, and food is fuel. So how are you going to take care of your body? But part of that is that why do you find yourself working with the collegiate teams? Because I know why Megan does, and I already gave the hints, the little mindset tip there. So,
Mm-hmm.
what are you finding popular as to why you're starting to work with those teams more?
Well, I love working with the university teams because they have so many different things going on, excelling in sports, excelling in academics, and excelling in social situations. And so it's just fun to work with them and collaborate on what are the best solutions for the various situations that they're in.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. You said they're going to be excelling in relationships, their schooling, sports.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I've learned from Megan is that not everybody is, right? Like on the outside, it seems like they are. But then it takes people like Megan or even yourself to start working with the coaches and the teams because deep down, they're not at a peak level of performance.
Yeah. So sometimes I don't like to talk about the bad thing about what I see, but
It's okay, man. Let's break it out.
let's break it out. So unfortunately, what I find is that college athletes are under so much pressure I can't, I don't know if I would have been able to make it through college and excel as much as they are now, because everything is between the rigor of school and social media and athletics. They don't get much downtime. And
No.
so the key thing that I teach is, how do you access very deep states of parasympathetic or rest, digest, nest mode? Because when they're in that high charge, excited or performing or anxious state, they're not recharging. And so I use a very interesting method that brings them down really fast into parasympathetic mode.
So
The
without giving all
anxiety.
that away, can you give us a hint?
Yeah. So there's three major parts of that. One is how we breathe has a phenomenally important, phenomenal impact on which mode of the nervous system we're operating in. And actually, why don't I take a step back and talk about the three modes, major modes? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. While you're doing that, since you hinted at it earlier in the show, I already have some butter with me, and I've been actually brewing a fresh new French press pot. So yes, I also put healthy fats into my coffee. I don't necessarily need to call it a bulletproof coffee, because it's just me putting healthy fats in my coffee, whether it's butter or coconut oil, or hell, pick any other kind of fat, heavy whipping cream. It's called a fatty coffee, not bulletproof coffee. So I just had to drop that in there.
Right on. I love it. If the Tibetans in the high Himalayas drank coffee instead of butter tea, they would drink it that way.
Yeah. Because again, it's about the adding additional healthy fats, because 80% of your brain tissue is fats. Hello. So that's a whole different show. But hey, let's get into those three things.
So there are basically three major modes of the autonomic nervous system. And we commonly talk about the fight-flight mode, and that's so. But let's start with where we're supposed to live. That's parasympathetic or rest digest mode, and I often call it the Barry White mode.
Okay.
Because if you've ever seen Barry White, he is always super relaxed and chill. And one key point is that he has a very wide prosody of voice. So he can go from a low pitch to a high pitch, which is which shows that the nervous system is nice and relaxed. So then there's the second mode, which is Bruce Lee mode, or fight flight. And this is more about anxiety and excitement. And so we want to be in fight flight when we're in competition or in battle. And then the third mode is like the blue screen of death, or frozen mode. And this is when our mind is literally blown. And this can happen in a good way from meditation or through mind-blowing sex. And it can happen in a bad way through overwhelm or too much excitement.
Wait a minute. So you start off with something positive and then related to something possibly negative, all affecting the same thing.
Yeah. So when we take a look at advanced states of meditation, where your body almost shuts off in a healthy way, and everything goes very placid, if you will. It's similar to, I think, the frozen mode that we also see from some of the combat veterans. They're able to switch once they learn from an unhealthy frozen mode into a healthy frozen mode.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring up the military again, because I've recently been starting to. One of my hacks, I'll use the word, is I travel a lot. So reading physical books, it becomes a special experience because most of the time I just listen to the Audible version on Audible. So, but the one wish list that I've been just finding myself slowly building has been books authored about or authored by Navy SEALs, right? Because I mean, here in the U.S., they're considered one of the elite, levels of military, and I'm sure you can connect on this because, yes, some of these books they talk about what they've gone through, their stories, their lives, and it's powerful. I mean, to the point where like the last one I listened to, man, I was literally driving down the road, I was crying. It was just so powerful. But then other ones they're talking about some of these, I don't know what would you call it, but this elite level of mental and obviously, according to you, nervous state that they get to, this peak level of training. It's powerful. They just be able to flip it on and off like that.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, they have some of the most robust and almost like powerful nervous systems on the planet.
Because they have to.
Because they have to, and also because it seems that the drive of excelling both cognitively and physically just attracts some of the most powerful nervous systems, if you will.
So do you think, this is interesting, man, we're going down an interesting hole here. If you have anybody, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever studied or learned anything about the Navy SEALs, they have a very intense onboarding training program. We'll just leave it at that. Long story short, hundreds of thousands of people over the years have just rung the bell, so to speak, if you know anything about Navy SEALs, because they can't hack it. They can't make it. They tried. And I think about this, what you're talking about right now. And I said, wait a minute. Is it that they couldn't make it at all? Or is it just they haven't figured it out enough yet? Right? I mean, like what I'm hearing from you is that most of these guys or ladies who have reached that peak level of performance naturally fall into these roles, right? They just, oh yeah, you're born to be a SEAL, for example, or a Ranger, or whatever these elite levels of military. Heck, a Russian, the Spetsnaz. So I feel that what I'm hearing from you is that these are just individuals that maybe naturally were more tuned in to reach that level.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think, some people are born with just a genetic predisposition to be a higher performing athlete and have higher performing cognitive function.
Sure.
But then also, I think environment plays a huge role in the development of these folks. When I get to know them, a lot of them had very challenging childhoods, and so that set up I will survive, like this incredible power of surviving and thriving. And so they've been warriors since the very beginning, because if you make it through a challenging childhood, you're a warrior at 1.5 feet or 2 feet tall in a world of giants. Yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
So then the challenge is that is to learn how to downregulate the nervous system into deep states of relaxation, right? Because if they've always been upregulating, then we want to teach them also to downregulate into deep states of peace. And when they learn that, they're able to attain what I think are levels of consciousness or levels of peace that are quite profound. They report, very interesting experiences when they go into a deep relaxation mode.
Wow. So now, for people hearing this, are part of your teaching, are you basically hinting that almost anybody could eventually reach this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody. everybody can reach this.
So it's not just the elite Navy SEALs, right? It's just that maybe they got there sooner or faster, depending on their lifestyles, which is interesting. You could pause on that. I had to look it up quick, and actually, I was going to screen share for you so you can see what I'm talking about. So the last Navy SEAL book that I consumed is called Fearless. And it's actually, the author is Eric Blem, and that's all he writes about. Is he personally goes in and goes fully immersion into these military professionals and writes about them. But the story, this was the story of Adam Brown. This guy was a famous Navy SEAL Team 6 operator, man. Like, this guy went through hell and back. But the interesting thing is, like, when you consume the book, you learn about his childhood. Like, he was a star football athlete, and then like didn't get his shit together, and then like dropped off the reservation, so to speak, and like got like I had no idea. I knew about this guy. I didn't know about this guy. Like, he went through a period of drugs, and like, it's crazy how every time I dig deeper into these types of people, it's like they hit these crazy extremes, ups, downs, and then everybody thought that he would never become a SEAL because he had a drug and military issue concerned record and everything else. But this guy just went after it, and it turns out he just needed to retune himself and focus all that crazy energy, I guess, on becoming a SEAL. And then he's never touched a drug again. And it's just interesting. I don't know if you've actually dug any deeper into stuff like this.
I think I have so much respect for those guys and ladies because of what they're able to do and what they've been through and what they do for the world even after their service. Getting back to the BUDS training,
that's what it was called. Yes, thank you.
I think we're making somewhat of a. I think we need to add something to the BUDS training, where we train in how to downregulate the nervous system, and train towards deep states of relaxation, because we know that they can excel at high states of fight flight. But what ends up happening is there's a record amount of suicides now,
yes,
among the special operator community. And in the ancient days of battle, look at the Greek or Roman times, what would happen is guys would go off to battle, and they would have months of training beforehand. So we do that. We do that training beforehand.
Oh, we've got that covered. Yeah.
But we're missing the mark, and we're not doing the down regulation or bringing the soldier back to peacetime activities. And my personal belief is that we need to inject that before they go off to battle, because they need to learn how to upregulate and succeed, and then downregulate into relaxation to complete the cycle from survive to thrive. Does it?
Okay.
Yeah.
So the survive to thrive. Actually, I love the keywords. You're going to be writing them down here in a second. I'm loving where you're going with this, because I agree. I mean, I was definitely no SEAL, but I got to serve for a couple of years with the federal government as a wildland firefighter, actually on the elite hotshot crews. So there's only like 100 of them in the nation. And they trained us very militaristically, which is funny because like back in high school, I took one of those ASVAB tests, and I was like top 1 percentile of the schools. Next thing you know, I'm being stalked by all the branches of the military for some strange reason. I'm like, I never said I was going to go to the military, but I don't know. I guess those tests get sent somewhere, and I don't know. I just remember this, but I was so anti anybody tell me what to do. I wanted nothing to do with the military.
Me too.
Right? I'm like, no. And I probably could have gotten into some really nice positions. I don't know. Anyway, the point is like, I just think it's funny. This was years later after going through corporate life and everything else that I'm 31 and 32. I went back to school right before that, finished my degree in marketing and psychology. So I've got the great resume now. I've got the education to back it up. And I just up and leave and go become a hot shot. I went through a fire academy, got certified. No firefighting background. Getting on a hot shot crew is very hard, but I'm a hard driver. So I love being competitive, love being driven. And I told myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm going all in, which is funny because I maybe that's part of my connection to why I love SEALs. I don't know. Cause like these guys, they're all hard chargers. Point is that I think I did better as a hot shot than some of the younger guys because they called me old man. Actually, the white in my beard right now is from the ski beard is thanks to that firefighting. I had no white in my beard. And then, after the firefighting, it was all of a sudden I got white hair coming out everywhere.
Maybe I'll just interject that my baldness comes from all the cybersecurity chaotic incidents that I was in for a decade.
There you go. So you lose it up top. I gain the whiteness down low there on the beard. So I don't know. I guess maybe it was. So here's the thing. Like I was able to go through those stressful experiences because you're doing 16-hour shifts on the fire line, hiking in the mountains, and you got wildfire, you got danger, you got keeping an eye out for your brothers and your sisters, like all that type of stuff. So it actually had a militaristic feel to it because we had to, watch each other's asses, except we're not being shot at. We're just basically worried about Mother Nature turning into a crazy bitch and trying to kill us. So, because that's what she does. And unfortunately, I've lost friends and brothers because of that in the fire community. So, but the interesting thing was, I think at that point in time, I'd already run my first marathon. I'd already done some half marathons. I'd done a Ragnar relay. I've done multiple 100-mile road cycling events to raise money for charity. So like I'm 31. The average guy on the crew is 18 to 24. And I've talked about this before because I'm like, usually I just always chalked it up to age and experience. But I guess if I dug deeper, it was, yes, thanks to those experiences and I started pushing myself to the extremes, I developed some more, obviously, cognition around that, the endurance components and stuff like that. I never really thought about it from a nervous perspective, but I don't get freaked out. I don't know. It's a short answer on that one. I don't know. Maybe you can connect on that. Like takes a lot nowadays, especially after the fire thing. God, those guys changed my life. Like it's going to take me a lot to get freaked out. I don't know.
Yeah. So when we're in chronic or persistent stress, we can train ourselves to be able to deal with even greater amounts of stress. What's important is to stay kind of connected to the body so that there isn't a mismatch between the body and the mind, right?
Right.
And it sounds like and that's why some of these top level athletes are able to gain, with a little bit more training, gain even more expanded states of consciousness because they've taken their body through, so many high peaks. And every time we excel athletically, we also have pushed the nervous system to new heights.
Oh, yeah. God, yeah. And I guess that was where I was trying to connect on this one before I probably missed the boat. And now you'll be able to really dive in on this one, is that thanks to those extreme sporting events that I had done, I learned the power of rest and recovery. I preach it to this day. I'm a CFL1 CrossFit coach, although I just took some time off. But whether I was a ski race coach for kids for 11 years or a CrossFit coach, I've always seen people overtraining. And well, we're all in. We're pushing the envelope, and a lot of people feel like that's why in the CrossFit space, for example, a lot of people get injured. And I would agree to a certain point, is that if you get injured, that's your body talking to you saying, you probably should have done something different before that happened. Meaning, instead of working out 5 days straight, maybe you throw a rest day in. Whether you're talking to Travis and maybe you start to do some cold water training or ice training, whether it be, okay, every single day, this 10-day trip skiing, we had 8 days on the snow. And I forgot what my app said, but the cool thing is they have like an RFID chip at the Epic Pass. Your ID pass has a chip in it. So every time you get on the lifts at all the Vail Corporation owned mountains, they have scanners. So every time you get on, you can actually track how much altitude you covered every day. So over 8 days, I covered over 140,000 feet of altitude skiing. So, because I just like to check my data. It's not a brag. It's the point was like in Colorado, especially Vail, it's not about it's about pushing hard and getting in some great runs and everything else. But at the end of the day, it's called après. So après is basically the ski version of happy hour, right? It's like, hey man, APRES with a little, whatever you call that, apostrophe up there. Point is, like, hey guys, it's about winding down.
Yeah.
Now, granted, a lot of après in Colorado involves a lot of alcohol, but we do things a little bit differently. We might go get a glass of wine after we've heavily rehydrated. My fiance's parents are retired, so my après has really gotten more in tune with what you would care about, because now they bought into some kind of like, I call it like a skier's country club, I guess. I don't know. Like there's an owner's club inside this hotel. They have a spa and a private owner's bar. Anyway, they've retired and they don't golf, so they ski. So they say, okay, so because they're retired and they're members of this, we have access to all these amenities because she's in the family. So now we go there, we go down to the spa, they give us a robe, we go get changed. I have access to a dry sauna, wet sauna. I go upstairs, they have all these beautiful outdoor stone hot tubs. Now, granted, Travis might not like that, but so I go in, we go grab a drink and go sit in the hot tub, man, and soak and just decompress. And that après may go for at least an hour, hour and a half, and you're just relaxing, talking with people and hanging out. So that's what I'm getting part of what we're talking about out of everything we're talking about today here is how much rest and recovery you're really allowing yourself.
Yeah, I think sometimes we think that we need to always be on. And one of my favorite quotes, and so we get disconnected from that idea of après, whatever it is, ski or the day. One of my favorite quotes is, when you are hungry, eat your rice. When you are tired, close your eyes. Fools may laugh at me, but the wise man will know what I mean.
Ah, where'd you get that?
I think that was like Lin Chi or some ancient like Confucius era guy.
I love the Confucius era. There's a lot of wisdom that comes out of that. I've been sharing quotes for years. I know for a fact I might have shared, maybe not that quote, but plenty of Confucius quotes over the years. If I go way back in my Instagram feed, I can't remember. Because I think that's important too, right? You're tapping into our history and your teachings, whether it be the quote you just shared, whether it be, we were talking earlier about obviously Eastern ways, right? You talk about fatty tea versus fatty coffee. We're talking about meditation. We're talking about, maybe at après, instead of partying hard, actually allowing yourself to relax at the end of a hard day of covering. We had days where I did 20,000 feet in a day. And my legs were done. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Après time. And I think that's the biggest thing that I get out of a lot of this. And obviously I never really took the time to really look at the nervous level. But when I listen to people like Dr. Jack Kruse, the mitochondriac guy, right? It's like, hey man, your cells need to be healed. They need to be recovering. It's not just the food you eat. He says in his teachings, it is the balance of light, water, and magnetism. You've hinted at magnetism, right? So you and him are vibing here. He talks a lot about mitochondria. He talks about mitohacking. He talks about proper hydration, the balance of magnetism. I've talked about grounding, like getting up in the morning, just walking outside and just standing on the earth. People don't do that. I don't know if you ever done grounding or not, but
I do grounding.
All right, yeah,
often.
There we go.
Yeah. So when he talks about magnetism, does he talk about the direction that you sleep in and stuff like that? I haven't heard his stuff.
Well, dude, you go on his website. So shout out to Dr. Jack Kruse, because he's the most downloaded episode I've ever had. He's got a viral following. But it's his name, Jack, and Kruse is Kruse. Go back and listen to episode 51.
That's great.
And you'll have some fun. And he's also the first episode that I started doing video on. So he the whole time he's wearing his blue blocker glasses.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, even with these right now, he's like, I'm killing myself talking to you. He's like, but it's important to get this message out there. Like this guy purposely relocated closer to the equator because of we referenced, actually, thanks to he talked a lot about my firefighting because I was in the mountains. And he's like, you were probably, even though you were putting your body through extensive stress, he's like, you were probably healthier then because you're at a higher altitude, you're in Mother Nature, you're not surrounded by technology. And at one point in the episode, we talked about how one guy rewired his house. So when he flips a light switch off, all of the wiring in the walls around his bedroom is dead. So there's no frequencies emitting around the bedroom environment. So this is way beyond just blacking out drapes, right?
We totally have to do that. And I think in a decade or two, we're going to realize how this technology has been really bad for us. For example,
you could talk this because you're the tech guy, man.
Yeah. I mean, I've been in so many server rooms, and right now they're talking about how Wi-Fi and that EMF takes the amalgam, the mercury out of the amalgams in the teeth at a higher rate. And so mercury, of course, is a neurotoxin. So what do you do with that? I actually had all of my amalgams replaced and put composite in about a year ago. Now, that's a big operation, but what people can do...
Ladies and gentlemen, he's referring to fillings.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, dental fillings, yeah. And what you can do before you do something like that is have more algae or seaweed, because that will soak in the mercury.
It's interesting you bring that up, because not necessarily the algae, but we're talking about the frequencies, right? So like I now have, 3 pairs of blue blocking glasses. Only because I've had the founders on the show now. So they send me stuff. This is great, by the way. You should start a podcast, just get free shit. You'll
have to send me your extra free shit.
Well, have you ever heard of Swannies?
No.
So his name is James Swanwick, SWANWICK. His are stylish. I just had him on. I just aired him last week, actually, while I was in Colorado. Cool. And then, but back after I met Dr. Jack Cruz, I just went on Amazon and searched for blue blockers and got these things. These are more like rounded, sporty style. But the orange lens is the perfect color block against the blue light frequency. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're geeking out about blue blockers. But that's why when you see orange, it's necessary for a 100% blue block in the evening, not during the day, because that's when you want to be winding yourself down. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure, Rob, you could back me up. Blue light frequencies are basically what is given off by the sun. So when you have all that technology in front of your face, in front of your eyeballs, because you just can't unplug right before bed, you're basically not allowing your body to produce the necessary melatonin, because the blue light frequencies are going through your eye, and that's telling your brain, oh, I should stay awake because it's daytime, when in fact it's not. So, and then this guy just recently, he's an eye doctor. These, if you can tell, these are only a 30% blocker for daytime use, for the guys who work around technology.
Yeah.
So that's Travis, different Travis, but Dr. Travis spent years as an eye doctor and started his own line. He literally just launched these guys like last month on Amazon. So now he's got all different color frames. I got a pink pair of frames for my fiance.
I gotta check those out.
You should, because she doesn't listen to me about anything. And then I bought her a pair of pink frame ones, 30%, not 100. And she's at least wearing that at night now. So I was like, oh my God, I got to win. So the point is here, we're talking about glasses and crap. It's not about name dropping. It's about, that's what I love about my podcast, right? Is that I'm bringing on people like you guys who dare to question why shit ain't working. It's like, guys, like, for example, I now have a separate power strip under this desk. The main router, not just the Wi-Fi, the main router and the Wi-Fi router are plugged into that one power strip. So before I go to bed, flip.
Yeah.
I kill that.
And this is why I think the next book may be called Unhacking
right.
Your Life.
I'm loving this.
Because if we don't do these things like blue blocking, turning off the Wi-Fi, and things like that, then our nervous system is getting hacked by space invaders. Things that are entering our space that it's just totally not natural. Caveman did not have to worry about high frequency LED lights,
No.
blaring into his retina and causing issues.
I purposely have changed all my lighting in this office to incandescent. I don't have,
me too.
I don't give, it's going to cost me another $5 a month because I don't have high efficiency, energy efficient LED lighting, which by the way, looks like my house is being possessed by aliens, because if you drive down the street, your house is like glowing super white. I'm like, what is that? So yeah.
Even ET stays away. It's like, whoa, that's too bright for me.
It's like, what is going on, man? I mean, and then, but to your point, and actually to Dr. Jack Krus's point, he's like, listen, the human body at the cellular level was never designed to receive this bombardment of frequencies. And he said, for example, cell towers. We love our cell phones. He's like, we can't stop being bombarded by cell phone frequencies unless you rip down cell phone towers. He's like, so I can't help you there, right? But you can control the frequencies that you are allowing close to yourself, around yourself. Like, for example, not carrying a cell phone right in front of your heart, right? Like people stick it in their freaking jacket pocket. My fiance, she sticks it in the sports bra and runs with it. I'm like, no, don't do that. Because he said you're literally sending unnatural frequencies right onto cellular structure. And he's like, think about it. Not just your skin, but what's behind that, right? Your muscle tissue and then your freaking heart. Like, what if you're actually, I'm sure there's science to this, as he's a neurologist, neurosurgeon, famous neurosurgeon. I was like, what if you're literally reverse programming the cellular structure of your heart, and that's what you could actually develop heart rhythm issues? I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor.
Well, yeah, it makes sense. I don't have the science to back it up, but when we start having these space invading wavelengths, then we lose coherence, and the body goes into disharmony. Now, the great thing is that we can use the breath, or we can use, we know that as the body gets space invaded, it's going to go into a more physiological anxious state, and we can use slower breathing and mindfulness to bring us back into harmony.
Yeah, and I had this up on your site earlier. I'm going to share it again now. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't actually watch the video feed, but you are hearing this, when you go to his site, robhartman.co, or workwith.robhartman.co is his page I'm on right now. But he has on here like what you'll learn, right? I mean, deep relaxation, visualizations to promote daily stress relief. Ergo, you can talk about meditation and stuff, right? What you just talked about here, you have pictures of lungs. Breathing is huge. Like right now is the CrossFit Open. And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, he shows tense muscle release techniques, and then the latest science and research on the autonomic nervous system. I do not like that word. And but the point here is like something as simple as breathing. And yesterday, I told you, I think before we started the show, every Sunday at my friend's CrossFit gym, we do a hero's WOD. A WOD is a workout of the day. But long story short, it is something that's been approved by the CrossFit organization around the world. And they say, hey, we're honoring this fallen police, fire, paramedic, military professional. And they create a workout in their honor. And it's because they were probably a CrossFitter, and that was part of their lifestyle. But I love coaching breathing because it's also the CrossFit Open right now. So once a week over this next month, it started last month or early this month, the organization is releasing a competitive workout. So like I'm actually in the CrossFit.com website, and I'm competing right now against everybody in the world. And I get to see how I compete and how I perform. And when the more endurance focused workouts come out and I see my fellow athletes trying to pull it off, it's hilarious because if no one's ever coached them on proper breathing, you can tell, you can see their heart rate is through the roof. They're not allowing that to reset, and they're burning out too early. Now, granted, I'm talking about breathing during a workout, which one of my biggest tricks I learned, I taught spinning for 6 years, right? Because I'm a cyclist. And I learned it actually through my certification. And they said diaphragmatic breathing, right? Deep belly breathing. And it's like, listen, long story short, breathing through the mouth, shallow breathing. Breathing through the nose, deep breathing. So one of my hacks was, what if I'm on a run? What if every third to fifth breath, I mentally program myself to not mouth breathe, but just take a nice long deep breath into the nose as much as I can get, slowly exhale it while I'm running or working out, whatever. And what I found was my heart rate goes down. Interesting. So that fight or flight mode seems to decompress. So I thought I'd bring that up. I wasn't sure if you
totally
connect on that.
The breathing technique that I teach most often is called parachute breath. And the purpose of this breathing technique is to stretch the lungs and to increase the surface area inside the lungs, and also to promote parasympathetic or resting. And let's do it together, actually, Scott, and everybody on the phone, as long as you're not driving.
All right, pause. I'm good.
Cool. Let's take a deep inhale through the nose. Add a little bit more. And a very, very slow exhale through the mouth. Notice what happens to the mind and body and make it slow. Let's all do that one more time. Deep inhale through the nose. Add a little bit more. And a very slow exhale through the mouth. Slower the better. Allow the mind and body to settle. How was that, man?
I had big lungs. I had a long exhale. That was good, man. I literally in the first one, like my one eye twitched. I could just, like my vision, I get that I've done this. And then the second one, it just, I don't know if you actually could see through the video, but it's like my eyes just naturally just dropped down, and I was just like focusing on like a wire sitting on my desk, and that was it. I found a focal point and just looked at it while I was exhaling. So it was very nice. Yeah.
Good. This is one of the best techniques to do when you at that moment before you feel like you're going to fly off the handle or lose your mind, just like collecting yourself with that. But then
and that takes what, 10 seconds, right?
Yeah. You can switch nervous system modes just with one good breath. And sometimes we start thinking when we're super anxious or upset or whatever, I've got to do X, Y, Z, this big complicated thing to change where I'm at. Now we can take literally 10 seconds and shift things up. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. This is a great way to start bringing the show to a close, because I've never done a live breathing exercise on the podcast before. Ladies and gentlemen, that was not that hard. Okay. I mean, really, it's not. So actually on that point, ladies and gentlemen, you're not seeing the video feed. I wanted to make sure I also shared this. We shared a lot of his site today on the video, and I'll have this linked in the show notes. You can go to the website, livethefuel.com. You'll go to his episode, and I'm going to have his book linked on there because I already have it. But make sure you get it too. They got it available, paperback, Kindle, but Hacking Your Nervous System is the name of the book. So I've already got it. It's a light read. It's not heavy at all. There's no excuse not to at least say, wait, what if I want to learn a little bit more about my nervous system? What if I want to learn a little bit more about breathing? And then if the book is your trigger point, or this podcast is your trigger point to want to go work with Rob, again, I already hinted at it. Go to robhartman.co. That'll also be linked in the show notes too. But Rob, dude, this has been a great episode. I love where we hit on this. Just so many ways that this can spin off into other follow-up shows. But for you and for our listeners, it sounds like you've really come from a far away, man, from the tech world to now trying to help people calm the hell down. I'll just sum it up like that. But I love to have my co-host close out the podcast. And is there some final words that you just want to leave behind to the audience? Something that's all encompassing behind where you're at now, what you're trying to do. Is there a message that you're trying to get out there? I mean, besides obviously hacking the nervous system?
I think it really is that no matter where you are in life, know that it's possible to upgrade and change the way that your nervous system is going. I came from a place of like, tons of anxiety and very poor health into a state where now I'm mostly relaxed a lot of the time, and I've been able to give back to a lot of folks. So know that no matter where you are, you can always have a better state. Yeah.
I love that, man. That's some great messaging. Listen, hang tight. I want to give you a proper goodbye off the air. Ladies and gentlemen, that's Rob Hartman, okay? If you're not ready to start hacking your nervous system, but you are ready to maybe just start thinking about those keywords of perform at your peak, right? Think about that. Peak performance. You got to check them out. Okay, go to the website. Go get the book. It's not an expensive book at all. I mean, dear God, it's ridiculously cheap. It's like $6 on a paperback on Amazon. And if you're a Prime, it's free shipping. Hello. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's Rob Hartman. Thanks for listening to another Live the Fuel podcast show. This is what we're all about. And remember, you too can live the fuel. And you're free of the pod. I just leave the video on for extra. So, did you have fun?
That was awesome, man. That's fun. Yeah. Did you have fun?
Oh, absolutely. And I was waiting to see if you knew who Jack Cruz was, because I'm like, if you didn't, I just cracked open a nut that you are you're gonna. I think you're gonna vibe off of that guy. You're gonna become one of his like new mitochondriacs or whatever. But his site. He's been blogging on that site as a doctor for years. I mean, his database of article content is, when I get bored, I need something weird to go read. Yeah. I just hit the search field on his site and just plug in a keyword that I think might relate to nervous systems or neurology or whatever. Next thing you know, I'm down the rabbit hole.
Jack Cruz. This is interesting.
And he's got a viral following.
Yeah. I think I've heard.
He's spoken on a lot of stages. He goes up to Vermont a lot. Have you ever heard of the paleocardiologist, Jack Wolfson?
Yeah.
So him and Jack both Jacks have spoken together. I've had Jack Wolfson on this show twice. I've had, obviously, Jack Cruz on only once. I want to get him on a second time. But these guys, they have a following, just like you. I mean, it'd be interesting to get you involved in that community, because and actually, that'll be one of my takeaways. Are we already friends on Facebook, I think? Yeah. There's a magnetism or a what's the supplement I'm thinking of? I take every night. Hello?
Melatonin?
Not melatonin, but it helps with that. Magnesium.
Magnesium.
Anyway, there's a private Facebook group founded by another doctor that's connected with Jack Cruz, but there's a whole group of people in there about just magnesium and magnetism and all that. There's like thousands of people in there. So if you're game, if you're not in there yet, I'm going to have to get you request to have you added into that community.
That'd be great.
Because I think everything you're doing will be cross-functional. Yeah. And if you just surround yourself with those communities, I think the good things can come out of that. So,
the other thing that came to mind while we were chatting is I don't think you're that far from DC, right? You're like
I'm an hour north of Philly.
So
I'm in Allentown. Yeah. I was in Philly literally yesterday. So
sometime maybe I can come up there, or you can come down here, and I can show you some of these advanced techniques that I'm teaching guys. I didn't want to say this on air, but Wounded Warrior Project is piloting this method that I've taught, that I'm teaching.
I know that organization very well. It doesn't matter what the name of the organization is. In the end, these are great not-for-profits that are just starting to think outside the box, and they need to. Yeah. I love that.
So we could do that. Any tips for me? How did that go? What can I improve, or what did you like? Or
everything was good for me, man. Like I said, I try to make the show easy. It's just my job as a host is to make sure my co-host has fun and they're relaxed and they can actually get focused on good content. And I think you nailed that. And I wasn't sure where the show would go, and that's why I keep it open format. And that was the best part. Like, man, we hit on firefighting, we hit on CrossFit, we hit on like fitness, you hit on collegiate athletes, we hit on I think a big vibe out of that was obviously the military. I think that's a huge niche. So yeah.
Great.
So
this was awesome, man.
Hey, I had a blast. I think I told you this in your pregame call we did a few weeks back, that if there's something that's really nichey that you want to come back on, I'm fine, man. I've been starting to do more repetitive co-hosting stuff this year. So especially on the health demographic, I think is huge. I'm a huge health nut. So yeah, and keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe we'll get you and Travis to come on together. Yeah. And we do like a 3-way geek out call or something. So
yeah, that'd be fun.
That's the beauty of Zoom.
I think the next one may be the back pain stuff.
Okay.
For first responders, but we'll keep in touch and figure that out.
I like that, because like Jack Cruz talks about cellular health and how, injuries and even spinal damage and stuff like that is not, it's rest, it's recovery, it's too much light, unhealthy frequency light exposure. It's not just, I strained my back working out. Yeah. So awesome, man. Bro. Well, I'll let you get back to your day. Great connecting, and obviously once this gets into the schedule, I'll update you when it gets out. So
awesome.
All right.
Have a great one, man.
Take it easy.
Thanks. Bye-bye.